Today we are to talk about one thing and one thing in particular. What is a Korean build and why the fuck is it still called Korean? So this topic kind of makes me laugh because of the fact that they call these builds that have been coming out lately, like the Tank Akali and the Tank Echo build, Korean builds. Now I understand, yes, they were originated in Korea, but they're still like builds, and they're still, you know, they're just like innovative builds. Maybe ideas that, you know, people have come up with. Some of the more popular builds would be definitely Echo, ADC builds that have been coming out lately. There's 3 or 4 that I can think of, and that's Misfortune with the Youmuu's Duskblade build, the Lucian with the Youmuu's Black Cleaver, the Ashe with the Rageblade Ginsuos, and then the Varus with the Rageblade Ginsuos. So what is a Korean build? I didn't die there. What is a Korean build? A Korean build is something that's kind of innovative, something that's probably been theory crafted for a while and then eventually tested and put to, you know, many tests. You know, how well does it work from behind? How well does it work from, you know, ahead and stuff like that? But honestly, does that make it Korean? Calling it Korean, of course, they might have originated in Korea, but honestly, I don't even know if half these people even know where these builds came from. Could have came from a freaking 12-year-old sitting in solo queue that built the wrong item, and all of a sudden it was just like really good. So then their top laner was just like, "Oh, dude, I'm gonna try that next game," and then he tried it next game, and then it got really popular. But I have not done entire research where these builds came from because, one, you know, who's gonna go through all those freaking AIDS-ass Reddit forums and stuff like that just to find out that if these builds were shit out of Faker's ass or, you know, made by a 12-year-old in top lane. So whoever came up with these builds is pretty smart, because if you think about it, no one would ever really think to not build any lifesteal on a Misfortune build. Because then the Misfortune build with Duskblade, you're not supposed to get any lifesteal at all. And so it's a very risky and high reward build. But whoever thought of it, you know, had to risk that a lot. You know, they had to, of course, you know, maybe they were doing it in normals, maybe they just didn't care. But, you know, that's a lot of risk put on an ADC, which is already very high risk. Taking away lifesteal and, you know, most of its defense from the tanks diving them, that's kind of, you know, that's kind of a big step. And on the Lucian build, you don't get a whole lot of crit until like your 3rd item, and even then, most you're gonna get is 30% crit from like a Phantom Dancer or a Rapid Fire Cannon. And so, if you really think about it, whoever like theory tested this and theory crafted this, it wasn't something that they were just like, hey, you know, I'm gonna try this. You know, the Tank Echo build maybe. And the Tank Akali build, that might have taken a bit more thought, but the Tank Echo build, people, you know, built Tank Jungle Echo before he even came out. You know, when he was on the PvE, people were already thinking of the Tank Echo build. Something that I hope to come out of this whole Korean build meta is that maybe the people that play League of Legends really regularly will open their eyes a bit to a lot more out-of-meta builds. I mean, who's to stop that Leona to go full AP damage? I mean, no, that's kind of a bit of like an overstatement or an overstep, but it's, I mean, it's the same concept. Building a champion that's not normally building what, you know, whatever they're building, that's changing the meta. It used to be, you know, ADCs like Jinx and, you know, Ashe and auto attackers that would just auto attack step all the time. And now it's Misfortune and Lucian and, you know, champions that all they rely on is abilities almost. And if you haven't already, I highly encourage anybody that is not played the MF Korean build, the Duskblade, or the Lucian Black Cleaver build, I highly recommend that you go try it out, because it's not something that's, you know, just, you know, hey, you know, I'm gonna have fun this game. It's actually like extremely good. This Misfortune build is almost ridiculous. You go Duskblade and you auto attack, there's, you know, Q somebody and they die. It's crazy. If you saw that fight when I found Lucian in the river, I just auto-attacked him and then Q'd him, and he was like dead. It's crazy, and there's so much penetration. Even to this Trundle that's, you know, slapping me across the face with a dildo. You know, I'm still doing tons of damage to him because I even built a Black Cleaver after Duskblade. So it's crazy almost, you know? Like they all of a sudden they just found like all these builds that, you know, run a buttload of pen, and then all of a sudden the tank meta, quote unquote, like, you know, the whole Iceborne Sunfire top lane is now just completely gone. And yes, I understand that Iceborne was nerfed, and I'm not forgetting about that. But even with the nerf of Iceborne, all these pen builds and Korean builds that are coming to the top of the meta right now are just making tanks even worse. And we're getting into this playmaking meta that we've, you know, been in for the past couple of months. Is it months? I don't know. I can't really tell the changes in meta. Not really good at, you know, telling that. But even the Varus build is anti-tank, if you think about it, because you build the 3 main items you build is Runeans, Ginselrose, and Blade of the Rune King. And Blade of the Rune King does % health damage. And even then, the Bloodraiser is coming out, or, you know, he already got buffed, and it's coming to the top of the meta, like, heavily. Yi is now a tank killer just because of that item. Teemo is even a tank killer just because of that item. And Evelynn even might start building it. You know, you might see some attack speed Evelynn coming out. And it's kind of crazy to think about that, you know, Season 5 was around. You know, we were in this such a heavy tank meta. If you didn't have a tank jungle and a tank top, you lost the game almost. And now, you play a tank top, and you might lose the game just for having one tank on your team. This Trundle that was trying to fight me all game as Misfortune just died instantly because I had too much pen for him to deal with. He could build almost 200 armor, and I would still just, you know, kick his ass. So now here we begin with the Lucian gameplay. You know, me giving away, you know, first blood, spoiler alerts. But even though I give away first blood and do really poor in the laning phase, at the end of the game I end up doing extremely well. You know, there's first blood right there. Can't run from that Caitlyn. Auto attack champion's OP. But even, you know, even though I'm like quote unquote feeding, I mean, you know, it wasn't really like real bad, but even though I did pretty poorly, you know, it's still Lucian, and Lucian is just super strong right now. You can build like 2 items on Lucian, just Youmuu's and Black Cleaver, and your ult can kill somebody. His ult does so much damage now, and it's so weird as being a previous Lucian player in the past. Knowing that his ult does damage now is like, it's hard for me to get used to, almost. Because I will ult somebody and I'll be like, okay, you know, I'm just gonna ult to get the kill, and now I can ult somebody at full health and still get a kill. It's crazy, and with the Black Cleaver, it does even more damage. You can ult a tank and kill him by the end of the ult. If you hit every, you know, little bullet, you're gonna kill him. And it's because of the fact that you, like, you know, 6 bullet system, and you already have another Last Whisper. And if you didn't know, when, you know, the full Black Cleaver goes off, that's 30% more armor penetration. 30%. That's as much as an old Last Whisper. I don't know how much Last Whisper now does, but, you know, I don't know numbers like that. But it's ridiculous to think about. And all these, like, pen builds and anti-tank builds are kind of like bringing some ideas to my mind. Like, well, what if you had a counter to an ADC building heavy armor penetration? What if there was an item that just straight up countered that? That gave you armor for, you know, like, it's a really complicated idea, but what if you had an item that if an ADC was attacking you with heavy armor penetration, for each damage done past your armor, you gained more, or something like that. So, like, what if the more armor penetration they had, the less damage they did? And that sounds really overpowered, but an item sorta like that. maybe not exactly, you know, the more damage, the more pen they have, the more armor you have, you know, because then they'd just be countering pen all entirely. But maybe they would nullify a lot of their pen. Maybe there was an item like Frozen Heart to where it was an AoE that just reduced everybody else's armor penetration. Because armor penetration for, you know, tanks like Dr. Mundo, Trundle even, you know, they can't be played. Trundle can be played because it's Trundle, but like Dr. Mundo probably can't even be played anymore because of all these pen. You know, he relies heavily on pen because of how much health he regenerates from his ult and from his passive. I think the reason why it's so bloody hard for, you know, the playmaking side of League of Legends and the tanking side of League of Legends to be balanced, you know, equally, like 100% equally, is because of the fact that it's, you know, with items like Black Cleaver, it's pretty fucking hard for a Malphite to even play League of Legends if the enemy C just builds a Black Cleaver. You know, maybe like, you know, maybe you pick like a Malphite, you know, against someone like, Misfortune, against an ADC, like Ezreal. Ezreal doesn't build Black Cleaver that often. So maybe you pick Malphite against an Ezreal, but you can still E out of your ult. And so there's like, I know there's like counters to like every champion in the game and stuff like that, but having an entire item that counters a champion, it's kind of ridiculous. Like Black Cleaver, with it being so strong right now, Malphite might not even be played a lot for a while. But that'll be all on talking about Koreans and their builds and stuff like that. And if you agreed with what I say and, you know, want to talk more about it, comment below and like the video. And if you didn't, dislike it. Tell me why you disagreed with me. And that'll be it.